So it starts with this chill bee just flying around, and then wham, a wasp totally attacks it, knocks it down, and stings it. Brutal, right? Then we meet Julia, who runs a catering company with her only employee, Paul. They get to this fancy event, and Julia, being the boss, snatches Paul's phone so he actually pays attention to work. She meets Flora, the housemaid, and sees the musicians setting up. Meanwhile, Sydney, the rich owner's son, sneaks up to Paul, secretly chugging a beer and looking super nervous his mom will catch him. You can tell he's like a special kind of weirdo. He tells Paul they don't live there, but come for parties. While they're chatting, Sydney's pet is just digging around in the garden, and get this, it accidentally uncovers a wasp's nest. One of the wasps pops out and stings Paul, totally ripping his pants. Ugh. So Paul has to go change in the van. It's night now, guests are arriving, and the party's starting. All these fancy people are there, even the city mayor. Julia and Paul are serving, and Julia, without even realizing, steps on that wasp nest the pet dug up. Wasps like explode out of there. To keep the party from going totally chaotic, Paul kills a bunch, but one lands on Sydney's shoulder. He swats it, but the wasps just keep coming. Then one guest suddenly collapses, covered in stings. Everyone gathers around to check on him, and a huge swarm of wasps comes flying out of the pit. The wasps start attacking everyone. If you kill them, you're fine, but if you don't, you're in major trouble. Their stings aren't normal, though. They're like laying eggs inside people's bodies. And then, get this super terrifying scene. The eggs hatch and human-sized wasps burst out of people's bodies, tearing them apart. You see torn bits of people on these giant, horrible creatures. Paul sees a wasp ripping out of a guy, and he's totally freaked. Julie and Paul's only escape is to get inside the house, so they try to run, covering themselves with a tablecloth. Julie gets distracted when she sees a wasp literally tearing its way out of a lady's mouth. Paul gets pushed, falls, and loses the van keys. The wasp that came out of the lady stands over Paul, ready to eat him, and Paul can still see her face, like attached to the wasp's wings. So messed up. But then Julia, like a total hero, kicks the wasp and drags Paul inside. Flora, the housemaid, is yelling for them to come in, but a wasp tries to attack her too. Luckily, their pet runs out, and the wasp chases the pet instead of Flora. Taking advantage, Paul, Julie, and Flora bolt inside the house. Inside, it's just them, Sydney, his mom, and the mayor. They're all thinking this is a terrible nightmare, but they gotta survive. No phones, though. Sydney remembers a landline, but then they see a wasp attack a car driver who loses control and crashes into a telephone tower. Their phone line is bad, and through the car window, they see another wasp ripping out of a human body. A guy at their window is begging for help, asking them to open it, but Sydney, who's actually pretty smart, warns them not to. He's like, if we get stung, it's game over. He says the house isn't safe and they need to go to the basement to wait for help. They're planning, and then they hear Flora scream. They run to check, and Sydney's mom, who got stung, has injured Flora, and now a huge wasp is bursting out of Sydney's mom's body. Before it can fully emerge, Sydney shoves his mom away. Before the wasp can kill them, they run to another room and lock the door. Flora's injured, so they make her sit outside the door, but before they can think, the wasp shoves its sting right through the door where Flora is, piercing her head, tearing her eye, and killing her. They're terrified by this horrible death. Then the wasp shoves its sting through the door again and grabs Paul. Julie and the mayor, refusing to let Paul die, grab a knife, injure the wasp, and save Paul. They're all running to the basement trying to escape. Meanwhile, the wasps signal other wasps, and they realize this wasp is the queen. They make it to the basement and lock themselves in. Now, the big question, are they safe? Especially since Sydney is starting to twitch in a weird way. It's clear he's mutating, and a wasp is going to burst out of him. Sydney knows what's happening. He might seem foolish, but he's actually super intelligent, though his parents never noticed. He used to go all these experiments, and this time, he put a growth hormone he made into the fertilizer. So he knows the wasps mutated because of his hormone. Sydney is telling them all this when the lights suddenly go out. Turns out the wasps cut the power because they've got human minds now and can think. That's a total disaster. But wait, the lights come back on thanks to a backup generator. Still, they're freaked out by how smart these wasps are. They gotta escape the city ASAP. Paul realizes he dropped the van keys outside. Who's gonna get them? Paul steps up, slithering out to grab the keys. He sees Sydney's pet and is about to rescue it when a giant wasp, like the same size as the others, suddenly appears. Without a second thought, it attacks Paul. Paul, desperately trying to get away, feels around on the ground and finds an ice pick. He fights back, stabs the wasp, kills it, and escapes just in time. Then the creepiest scene happens in the basement. A wasp is bursting out of Sydney's body, but because Sydney is like deformed, it's not a normal birth. A small wasp comes out of his deformed shoulder and totally takes over his body and brain. Before Sydney can attack Julia and the mayor, Paul, like a hero, bursts in through the window and tackles Sydney. Sydney tries to get up, but Paul trips him, sending him flying. Then the mayor and Paul quickly throw a shelf on him, trapping him. Whew! Now they got to get out, but there are tons of wasps coming through the basement window. So they go upstairs, and get this, the wasps have transformed the whole house into their nest. They try to sneak out, but the mayor unfortunately gets stung by a wasp and becomes its prey. They try to save him, but the wasp is already, eating him. The mayor, being a true hero, lets himself be eaten so Paul and Julia can escape. The wasp is about to chase them, but luckily there's a room right there and they bolt inside, slamming the door shut. They're safe for now, but they know it won't last. They're exhausted and hide under a table talking when they realize a wasp has broken through the door and is inside. It's about to attack them, but they throw the table at it, saving themselves. Before they can do anything else, the wasp cracks the roof. They climb out through the wall the wasp broke and escape the house. They have to get to their van, but how? The queen wasp stabs Paul's shoulder from above and starts dragging him up. But Julia, with incredible courage, hits its sting and breaks it. Julia's move makes the queen furious, and it throws Julia far away. Then the queen flies off with Paul. Julia could run, but Paul screams, "Stop her!" The queen takes Paul to where they keep all the other humans. Sydney is there too, and he pulls the sting out of Paul's shoulder. Sydney isn't just human, he's also part wasp now, so he's not helping Paul. He's torturing him. The queen gives Sydney a larva, and Sydney tries to shove it into Paul. Before he can, Julia, like a total badass, bursts in with an electric saw. First, she cuts the wasp off of Sydney's shoulder and throws it far, keeping the queen away from Paul. Julia is trying to leave with Paul throwing the larva away, but the queen chases him. But wait, Sydney, who's now free from the wasp, helps them both and grabs the queen from behind. The queen, in a rage, stabs and kills Sydney. They finally make it to the van, but not before leaving several gas valves open inside the house. Then they light a match and the house explodes. The flames consume the wasps inside, and for a second, it feels like their nightmare is finally over. But it's not. The burning queen wasp appears behind them, merging with the van in a final attack. Paul, thinking super fast, crashes the van into a tree, finally killing the queen. Julia's in bad shape, and Paul is desperately trying to wake her up. He starts to fear she's dead because she's unconscious for so long. Just as he's losing hope, Julia suddenly opens her eyes and he breathes this huge sigh of relief. Meanwhile, rescue and police arrive, and they're finally safe. They kiss and are about to leave when, bam, a huge cow's head suddenly falls on an officer, killing him instantly. From a distance, they see more wasps approaching, bursting out of cattle bodies, just like they did from the humans. So now they're coming out of cows. The movie ends right there, leaving us with the mystery of what's going to happen next. Crazy.